All right, here we go, everybody. Quick look into stage three. I'm sorry for forgetting to add this to you, to your Canvas on Monday with that teacher workday. It kind of threw me off. When you're analyzing the DTM stage for stage three, we see a sudden decrease in our natural increase rate. Please know that doesn't mean that the population is dying or disappearing. It just means that the population is now hitting a plateau, and it really is showing that less people are being born, which we see correlating in our birth rate. Our death rate slows down as well, so population is staying steady, and that's what this means here with the decline. As we examine some examples of stages here, stage one, just remember these are uncontacted tribes. Stage two, we see unique pictures for an increase in births. We see an increase in the natural increase rate sharply, but deaths are what really changes, where we see less people dying significantly. We put India here twice for stage two and stage three. India does have great developments in industry and income for people, but there's such a huge number of people that India has a lot of sanitation problems, lots of pollution, and lots of underdevelopment for its people, especially with access to drinking water. Venezuela is another one that we would look at as a failed state today, which is quite tragic. People are not accessing clean drinking water or food, so therefore Venezuela kind of is bouncing back and forth here, although technically it is a stage three state. So what we recognize as the key characteristics, first and foremost, it's population pyramid, now moving very quickly away from a sharp pyramid to now the beginnings of a rectangular shape. As you can see, great life expectancy happening as well, which is huge. Our birth rate has fallen consistently, so we're going to start to see this just continue to shrink inwards. Our death rate will start to slow down and wane, as we'll talk about here in a few moments. And the natural increase rate is what really falls, just because, again, population is really staying stable, as we see here with this very fat midsection. A very fat middle portion of the age cohort shows people are living longer, and it's a stable population growth. Infant mortality is also falling quickly, and we're going to start to see that in the shoring up of the base of our population pyramid. As we recognize why the birth rate is falling, first and foremost, huge improvements and developments in diet, especially for mothers, but also especially children, right? Mothers also have keen access for contraceptive use, as women are going to start to become more empowered with making decisions for their bodies and their reproductive health. From an economic perspective, we recognize that now we're seeing less farming taking place and more industrial use, which means families are working more arduous tasks in warehouses and facilities and such, and therefore children are really not necessary anymore because there's no extra farm hands needed. If we examine our choropleth of the world, we still must appreciate sub-Saharan Africa and parts of Southwest Asia as a struggling location for contraceptive use. We'll cover this more in Unit 3 for culture. Now, if we start to think about some of the reasons why our crude death rate is falling, again, incredible improvement in medical facilities, water access, sanitation becomes a consistent goal for a government to provide for the people, which prevents disease. And as we see diseases being kind of pushed away, children live longer. Some of the reasons why we see a unique change in the lifestyles of this area is people are starting to afford more luxury goods. They're buying more wants than needs with their income that they're making in these industrial jobs. What that really means here is we're starting to see females accessing the workplace more. If farming is not taking place, both males and females have access to jobs, and these jobs are higher paying than farming. So we're recognizing more income. It means changes to the number of children being birthed. We also start to notice again, as industry removes the desire for agricultural jobs, people are busier, and busier lives with more of a faster pace dictates that families will start to shrink down. Countries are also going to start to engage, and here's the key word here, engage in international business, which means newer trade items coming through, more luxury access, but also the introduction to democracy, which is very beneficial because that just further improves gender equality. But there can still be some issues going on in the governments, especially economically and socially. So unfortunately, that's what will hinder many stage 3 states from increasing to stage 4. If we're getting into the epidemiological transition, looking at the things that really take life away, we call this the stage of degenerative diseases and human-made diseases at that. Not to say that humans are cooking up biological weapons to use against each other here. It's just that the lifestyle starts to take away life more than Mother Nature. So a few things that we start to really examine in the ETM for stage 3, you have diseases that, again, come from lifestyles. So the introduction of more fattier diets or less exercise can start to really impact our major organs. This, again, is not coming from some parasite or a wild animal. It's just the way the person is living. I introduce our first cancer. Stage 3 is the emergence of lung cancer. And that, again, typically connects to industrial states where people are not breathing in fresh air, working hard on a farm. They're in these noisy, cramped, and very, very polluted warehouses and factories, breathing in exhaust from machines. And that exhaust is something that the human body is not designed to breathe in. So that starts to increase the likelihood of lung cancer. We also develop a focus of lifestyle issues. The human body, as it ages, is just going to start to weaken. We look at the idea of stroke, which I put on there twice by accident, sorry, just from the weakening of neural pathways or getting into, again, less and less access of oxygen for the brain. That could come from high blood pressure. Dementia, again, the weakening of neural pathways where memory loss starts to develop. Eventually, over time, that can lead to Alzheimer's. And then osteoarthritis, which is where, without calcium, human bones begin to become very porous, as it's not reinforced by calcium. And so with porous bones comes the brittle arthritic feeling of our bones, and they can break, which they do, as osteoarthritis starts to really develop, and that creates a very serious health issue. When examining the population pyramids, again, it's important to see the more fattening up and the shrinking down of the base of the population pyramid, moving from a triangular shape like we saw in stages 1 and 2 to now more of the beginnings of an emerging rectangular shape. As the age cohort grows, the midsection will continue to get fatter and fatter like we see here for South Africa, and that just shows a more developed, longer living population. I'll be posting the notes on Canvas for you, and you can watch and access the videos to correlate everything that we've talked about. If you have any questions, please reach out and let me know. Happy to help in any way. Thanks, folks.